I awoke with my boxer shorts on backwards and my gun empty. I smiled and thought to myself, she's okay for a peacenik. I needed to think, so I poured myself 2 fingers and ran it all back in my mind. There was something fishy about this Antler business. I always thought Magenta was a hornier town than most, but I'd always chalked it up to the cold winters and high cost of heating. But if one whiff of that antler fuzz could put me into zero-gravity Kama Sutra, what could a truckload of it do to a whole town? I thought of all the innocent adolescents, moral codes no longer having the strength to resist such an onslaught of animal lust, children barely in their teens sinking to every form of sexually depraved satisfaction physically possible. I poured myself another 2 fingers. The address she gave me was on Oak Street, but there wasn't a tree in sight. It was an old warehouse between the milk processing plant and Jack's TV repairs. Jack was a good guy, square like they don't make him anymore. A lot of poor parents and their kids would have gone without TV if it wasn't for Jack's nearly new layaway plan. But people abused of him. He couldn't stand the look in a kid's eyes when he came to repossess, and everybody knew it. I stepped into the place. It was a chaotic jungle of wires and tubes. Hey, Jack, how goes?
What are you doing on my circuit, Dober?
I'm on a case, Jack.
Maybe so, but you still got your foot on what used to be a perfectly good 1951 Motorola preamp.
Sorry about that. Listen, Jack, it's about your neighbor.
Hey, you ain't taken to drinking milk, have you, Dober?
Ha ha. Bad habits are hard to break, Jack. No, I mean the other place. The beat-up warehouse next door.
Oh, that place. Not much action there. A couple of trucks roll in from Canada every now and again, usually delivered by this big guy who looks like he's got a salami in his pants.
Ain't no salami, Jack.
Hallelujah.
He performs sometimes at the Garden of Eden. He's Pierre LaPierre.
Business must be pretty good if you're hanging out at the G.V.
Just part of the case. Listen, Jack, I need your help. I think there's a plot afoot in some minds, some twisted minds. I don't know much about it, but it can turn kids into sex maniacs and nymphos.
Some people's brains must be in their feet. Those kids ought to be home watching TV. What can I do you for, Dober?
Is there any way you can wire up the place so I can figure out what's going on?
Sure. I just have to hook up my parabolic mic and put an infrared lens on the old home video camera pointed at the window. The blind don't look too thick. Hey, come to think of it, saw Bernie Fromm's making a delivery there recently. Some monkeys, I think.
Bernie Fromm's the veterinarian?
How many Bernie Fromms do you know in Magenta that deliver monkeys? Oh yeah, and one time I saw that guy Max Farlow coming out of the place, like he'd give his kingdom for some Preparation H.
I told Jack to put as much as he could on tape, and he said his movement detector would turn the machines on and off whenever anything was happening. As I drove back to the office, I started to run it all back in my mind. There was something equally fishy about this monkey business. I decided to call Bernie Fromm's. Hey, Bernie, how you doing?
Dober, you old dog. How's tricks?
Okay. Thanks for the intro to Miss DOBER.
Well, she said she was looking for a hard-boiled dick. I said I knew just the guy.
She tell you anything about the case?
She mentioned something about antler fuzz, but told me to keep it under my hat.
That should be okay. I wouldn't chance walking the streets with it under my belt.
Pardon me.
Never mind. Listen, Bernie, I heard you dropped off a few monkeys at the warehouse on Oak Street.
Oh, that young guy.
What young guy?
Well, actually, he's pretty old.
Wait a minute. When is a guy young and old?
When he's Jan Johansson. That's Swedish for John Johansson. Dr. John Johansson. But he pronounces it Jan Johansson.
Sounds like he's got a pronounced accent. Foreign type, eh?
Yeah, Swedish, I think. He donated a rare strain of monkeys to the zoo. They were so strained they looked almost human.
Strained monkeys. Sounds disgusting.
I mean a rare breed of monkeys.
Breed? What, like Cherokee monkeys? I didn't know Indians had monkeys.
Indians don't have monkeys. They sometimes have deer and caribou herds.
It was all starting to make sense. I think these monkeys are tied up with this antler business.
Come on, how can you tie up monkeys with antlers?
That's a good question.
The answer to this and other perplexing enigmas will be dealt with in next week's episode of Blood on the Antlers.
The characters in this episode were portrayed by Bob Olivier as Detective George Dober, Chacha Da Vinci as Bridget Dobar, and Dennis O'Sullivan as Max Farlow, Jack the TV Repairman, and Bernie Fromes. Sound by Don Ayers. The Catch was composed by Rebecca Rifkin and Stefan Gaburi and performed by Chacha Da Vinci. Supplementary music by Jody Golick and Bob Olivier. Blood on the Antlers was written by Delphine Beauregard and directed by Andre Roussil.
There was blood on the antlers and a trail of broken hearts that twisted perverse.